Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MMA Island podcast. I am Jack Kennedy alongside Keelan McNamara and Hunter Boss. And today we are welcoming a very special guest, Sam Patterson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First thing I wanted to ask is you just got an amazing win on the Dana White Contender Series. You're a signed UFC fighter. Just what does that mean to you, and what did you feel in the moment whenever that happened?
Well, it feels like a lifetime ago now. I'm
Right,
itching to
yeah.
go again, but yeah, it was a dream come true. Like I said it on many podcasts before, and it's the same kind of thing because I worked so hard to get to that point. I didn't know it was going to go like that. Like the pressure of the moment is more than I've ever felt before. Like having Dana White pretty much standing there, like everyone looking at him to see how he reacts to your fight is pretty crazy. Um, the whole experience was amazing, and I've been saying it for many years now that I'm like UFC caliber, and I believe I will get to the UFC. So it was just the right step to get me into the UFC. The pressure of the moment was a lot, but it was nothing was stopping me from getting that contract that night.
Mm. I hear you. I hear you. You said it. You said it yourself. It does feel like a lifetime ago now that it's happened. When can we expect you to see you in the octagon? Now we're all looking forward to your debut here.
I tell you, your guess is as good as mine. I wanted to get out before the end of the year. Obviously all the cards were booked up, so I didn't have that luxury. But to be honest, it's given me time to just be in the gym. Like, I'm in the gym all the time training. Like that's no secret to anyone. I'm always training. So I have leveled up my game everywhere across the board, since that last fight. If anyone, my next opponent thinks I'm anything like that last fight, they're going to be in for a shock. My skill set has gone up, and I can't wait to go out there and perform and show how much skill I've like added to my game. Whether that is, I don't know. I've been told early next year, so I'm staying in the gym, I'm just training. And when I get a date, as long as I get adequate time, I'm ready to go. Probably February, March. Nothing's confirmed. That's just what I'm looking at.
Sam, very welcome to the MMA Island podcast, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. Sam, my question for you is the boys have asked you a lot about the Contender Series, and obviously that was huge for you and very well deserved, might I add. Can you tell us how that actually came about? Do you remember when you got the call and when you were told how it was basically going to come together?
It's funny because I got the call after the Felipe fight. I fought Felipe Silva that was in the UFC, and I knocked him out in the first round. And I got offered the Contender Series then, but I was under contract with Brave. And because I was under contract with Brave, I wasn't able to take the opportunity. And at the time, I was pissed. Like I thought, I've just knocked out Felipe Silva. I should be in the UFC. Like me being under contract was probably a blessing in disguise because I was able to get a couple more wins under my belt against high level competition, different styles as well, not just strikers, different styles. So when the call did come about after my fight in March, I fought in March and I broke my foot in two places. Um, I beat the guy, but I broke my foot in two places, so I had a couple months off. And then the Contender Series, we got the call for Contender Series in September, and it was like everything lined up perfectly. It was like my foot just got better, um, and yeah, the opportunity comes. So it wasn't a shock to me because I've been on their radar since the Felipe fight, and I went on to have three or four more fights under Brave, and then they called again when I was out of contracts. So it was all just all lined up perfectly, and yeah, I took it with both hands.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was wondering, you already look like such an amazing fighter. You are such an amazing fighter already. But with this time off, preparing for your first official UFC fight, what are you improving on? What parts of your game do you need to improve on to become ultimately a UFC champion someday?
I I focus like my whole game. There's not one area like I'm very good like as a mixed martial artist. I go away and I just level up everything. I'm not just going away working on my grappling and then my grappling's like up here and then my striking's down here. I'm across the board very equal. So anywhere the fight goes, I'm prepared to go. So yeah, I've just been in the gym of training all aspects of the game. Really just becoming a complete martial artist. And from any of my fights, you can see that I can strike with strikers and I can grapple with grapplers. So I'm all rounded. So all I got to do is keep leveling up everything in the gym, and that's this is the best time to do it because when you've got a fight coming up, all you're doing is focused on getting fit and getting sharp and ready to fight. And you don't really level up that much. But when you're out of camp, if you make the most of it and spend the time in the gym, that's where you start making those jumps in skill set, which you'll see in my next fight for sure.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I was curious, next week we got a really important lightweight bout coming up of Jaron Gordon versus Paddy Pimblett. I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on the matchup and who you think is going to win.
It's a good matchup. I think it's Paddy's hardest test to date. Rightfully so. It's his fourth fight in the UFC now. Jared's tough. I haven't really watched too much on him. I've just I watched the countdown literally this morning, and yeah, he's had some good fight. He's been tested, and he's from a great gym. So I believe it's going to be a tough fight. I think it's going to be Paddy's hardest test, but I really think it's who gets going first. Out of the two, it's whoever gets going, finds their rhythm, and starts hitting the shots first will dictate who wins that fight.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Sam, in the UFC in particular, we're seeing something of a British invasion of the UFC, I feel. We have Leon Edwards, who's the welterweight champion of the world. We have Jake Hadley at flyweight, Paddy Pimblett at lightweight, and we're not that far removed from the days of Dan Hardy and Michael Bisping as well. Do you see yourself as being a forerunner of the next generation of the British invasion?
I believe so. I think we got like the names you mentioned there, but also I believe Jake Hadley's in that list of like the front runners of the next generation. Like me and him both coming off the Contender Series, we're in that kind of bracket. Whereas you've got people like Jack Shaw, Nathaniel Wood, all these guys that have actually had a few fights in the UFC and done so well. Arnold Allen, like all these guys.
I can't believe I forgot Arnold Allen.
The thing is, there's quite a few like UK guys now, so it's actually crazy that you can forget them. Before, it used to be like one or two. You couldn't forget them. There was one or two of them. Now you're forgetting names because there's quite a few coming through, and the level that they are is, and we are. Sorry, should I say we are?
Yeah.
Is high level. It's not like it used to be where they would say UK guys don't have wrestling and stuff. Leon just went and beat one of the best wrestlers probably out there in the division. I know he knocked him out, and I know that they're saying he's out wrestled, but he showed he's got the skill and got the wrestling. And I think other guys in the division, everyone from the UK is showing that we're more than just strikers or tough guys. It's actually we've all got the mixed martial arts under our belts now. And yeah, I believe I'm in that next generation coming through Contender Series. I'm ready to start just making my way through the UFC.
Absolutely. So we had a bit of a fun question for you. You might have to think about this a little bit. So way back UFC 189, Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes, they both walked out to live performances. So Conor walked out, Sinead O'Connor, Foggy Dew. The question I wanted to ask you is, if you were to walk out to a live performance, who would the artist be, and what song would they perform for you if you walked out?
Oh, this is good.
It's a good question, actually. And the first one that I haven't thought of this, never been asked this question, so it's not something. But what I have said is my dad's favorite artist is Phil Collins. So I would have a Phil Collins song played by him, and that would just be for my dad, even if it is that, yes, exactly. have them drums out there and it all just goes off. Yeah, I think it would be Phil Collins. That's the first thing that popped to my head. And that'd be a big moment for me and my dad.
Oh, I love it. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great podcast. Everyone, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can listen to the podcast everywhere, literally everywhere, including iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at mma.island.podcast, and make sure to follow Sam as well. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me on.